the time has come for me to build the Lord of the Rings Shire set. Hello, my name is Angel and welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to build this. I've had it for a while now and I'm not sure how long it's supposed to take. I'm sure once I open it up I'll be able to see that, but I am very excited. This will be my first full-blown Lego set I've built. I have built some flowers, little things like that. Really looking forward to this, and then to accompany me, I will be listening to the Silmarillion for the first time. I have the audiobook read by Andy Serkis, who, if you don't know, played Gollum in the Lord of the Rings movies by Peter Jackson. And I have listened to his narration for the Lord of the Rings books. He does such a great job voicing Gollum, of course, but with everyone. He really was able to morph his voice into the characters' voices from Peter Jackson's adaptation. I really enjoyed that experience, so I have very high hopes. This will be the first time that I've read all of the Silmarillion. I have read some stories from it and enjoyed them, but I'm really looking forward to getting some more of the mythology and really experiencing this world in another way. I also have a physical copy in case I need to reference anything. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of big names, a lot of lore in this, so if I feel stuck at any moment, I'm going to pause with building this and open up the book so that I can reference it. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoyed. This will be new for me, so I'm really excited to try this, and without further ado, let me start the audiobook. In this first booklet here, I have just finished building packet 13, and that is the little tent. How cute is that? The cake. And you've got Miss Proudfoot. How cute. During that time, I am still listening actually to a letter by Tolkien in which he is describing what things represent, the setup for The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, some lore about the elves and why he even wrote this story, and how he really drew on German stories and Celtic and didn't really feel like there was much English or English mythology. So that has been interesting, along with what came before this, which it was a preface to the second edition by Christopher Tolkien. And he says that Guy K helped him edit. And I was thinking, Guy K, is it Guy Gabriel K? And it is, which I thought was so interesting. I guess he's a popular fantasy writer. I haven't read any of his work, but he did help edit it, and I think he was still in school at the time. He was the assistant during the editing of the Silmarillion, which I thought was very interesting. Let me pull up a picture of the guy I'm talking about. Here he is. And that just makes me want to read some of his work even more. So not sure if I would like it, but my interest has definitely been piqued. All right, so it looks like now I'm moving on to bag 14. Got a lot of stuff in here. This set is definitely really cute. I started off very slow, but now I think I'm getting into the groove of things and I'm feeling much more comfortable with building and following the booklet. Just finished the first story, which is Ainulindala, the music of the Ainur. And this is when we are introduced to the Valar and Melkor. Love the Lord of the Rings. I love the Hobbit. I think that's obvious or I wouldn't have purchased this set, but I have read the Lord of the Rings a few times. I've read the Hobbit a few times, but like I said, I've only read Beren and Luthien and maybe another. I have not read the whole of the Silmarillion. And I did have to pick up the book just so I was making sure I was getting some details. There's a lot going on in here. We're building the mythology. We're getting the creation, the build up to the stories that we get in the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Editing me here because I realized I did not do a good job of explaining the background. So let me take us back to the very beginning. This is the creation. We have the Ainur. They are the holy ones like angels, created by Iluvatar. They shape the world with music. Each one has a role. For example, Manwë, the airs and winds, Aule, skill and craft. But Melkor inserted his own desires into the music for a more powerful part for himself. I also go on to mention the Valar, and these are of the Ainur, but they descend to Earth, to Arda. I have built something else and it moves. How neat is that? And I love the little signs and the tent, the little pieces of fabric that come with this set. How cute. I'm so proud of myself for this one. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I've read so far. And at the end of the first story, we are introduced to Melkor, who is different from the others because the others gravitate towards light and goodness, and Melkor is doing everything to bring them down. It says on page 12 here in this edition I have, "Yet it is told among the Eldar that the Valar endeavored ever, in despite of Melkor, to rule the earth and to prepare it for the coming of the firstborn. They built lands and Melkor destroyed them. Valleys they delved and Melkor raised them up. Mountains they carved and Melkor threw them down. Seas they hollowed and Melkor spilled them. And naught might have peace or come to lasting growth. For as surely as the Valar began a labor, so would Melkor undo it or corrupt it." So already we're introduced to the binary of light and dark. In the second story, we're getting some more information on the enemies. And it says, "Last of all is set the name of Melkor, he who arises in might, but that name he has forfeited. And the Noldor, who among the elves suffered most from his malice, will not utter it. And they name him Morgoth, the dark enemy of the world. He wasn't alone, many were drawn to him. And then dreadful among these spirits were the Valarakar, the scourges of fire that in Middle-earth were called the Balrogs, demons of terror." Sorry, I just had to get a delivery, but I believe I was talking about Balrogs. If you know, you know. Now we have an understanding of where that creature came from. I am not a Tolkien scholar. I will not say that I'm going to fully comprehend everything in here or remember everything in here. It's so much. I think you'd have to reference it a lot to make a point or reread it. I'm not your teacher here. I'm reading this for fun. So, I'd always say read it for yourself, see what you think, and enjoy it for yourself, especially if you are a lover of Middle-earth. I am about to take a break, honestly. I'm almost done with what looks to be, it's supposed to be this thing, which will be like the dragon firework. So it's a lot of little parts and my fingers are kind of hurting. And I also need to take my dog Mabel out. So I'm honestly about to take a break, and then I'll also be done with the second story in the Silmarillion. Just seeing these two things here that I've built makes me so happy. I can actually see that I'm making some progress instead of staring at the bags that are sitting in the floor, because there are multiple bags sitting in the floor. I don't even know this is just this. And then I have all of the Hobbit hole to build. So these pieces are so cool. I'm really enjoying this. It's definitely taking my mind off of things. I'm getting to relax. Here comes Mabel. Hi, Mabel. Do you want to say hi? But I'm going to dive back into the Silmarillion and finish this section of the set. I'm back already because guess who's gotten mentioned? Sauron. He is still on page 23. Among those of his servants, Morgoth's servants, that have names, the greatest was that spirit whom the Eldar called Sauron, and that Sauron had a part in all of Morgoth's dark deeds. That ends the Valaquenta. I am back and wanted to give some more updates. I took Mabel on a walk and read a little bit more of the Silmarillion, and I wanted to mention the significance of the number 7. 7 is definitely like a holy number. We have 7 dwarves, 7 rings given to the dwarf lords, 7 persons of power, 7 in the Valar, 7 female, 7 male, 7, what else did I mention? Oh, 7 stars. Everything that represents, I feel like, completion is represented with the number 7. So far, I would say read this if you love Middle Earth. Not only that, if you love mythology, I would read this. It feels like growing up when I was, so deep into Percy Jackson. I was reading all of the books I could find on Greek mythology, then Roman mythology, then Egyptian mythology. I'm really enjoying this so far. It is a lot, but if you just read it for fun, I'm having a lot of fun with it. And then you can make connections. If you're that type of reader, which I feel like I just do a lot of things in this whole noggin here. Probably not the best way, but not the best way if you're going to sit down and write an essay, or if you're doing this for school, of course, but just having fun. I feel like I'm piecing things together, each story that I read, and I'm enjoying the experience. So I am ready to dive back in. I've made myself a cold brew. I've switched to these because these headphones hurt my ears and my head after a while. So like I did this backwards because this booklet here has an introduction to the set. It's beautiful with photos from the movies. A long expected party. How cute, explaining the Shire and how they designed this set. I love this. I wish that I would have opened this first. I just grabbed the one that was on top. I've already built, as you've seen, this part. Good morning, it's the next day and I'm ready to lock in and finish this set and finish the Silmarillion. I just took a break to eat some Cheetos and get myself a Pepsi to keep me going for the rest of the day. I have completed the other half of the Shire set, so that just leaves this side, which is super exciting, and I wanted to show you how cute it is. Here we go. The back, like seeing inside of it is my favorite part. I love all the little things. I would love to do a miniature furniture set like Ariel Bissett has in her house. I think it's so neat. And so this is literally me living my dream right now with this set. This has got to be the best part though. A little There and Back Again book. And you just open it up and it says There and Back Again. How cute is that? I stand by that Andy Serkis is the perfect narrator for these stories. He really makes you invested and brings the characters to life, the action to life. I really love it and how well he is able to take on the personalities and characteristics of people. This is definitely action-packed. It's sad, a lot of sadness, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Silmarils. The Silmarils are 3 jewels that are crafted out of like trapped holy light, so they themselves are not evil. They're very different from the One Ring, but it's interesting how the Silmarils themselves are they're made to like burn you if you're evil or mortal and you touch them. But it's all this sadness that we're seeing is the races covet them and want them, and so you get these wars, you get these battles, and just a lot of death and sadness comes from it. So that's very sad, and while the One Ring is different, it's an object that's so attached to all of these, sorry for this rattling. It's an object that's so attached to all these sad, destructive moments. Of course, we've got Morgoth running around and he is still doing his thing and it's awful. Now Sauron has come into his own power and he still serves Morgoth and brings a lot of people to Morgoth's cause. Sauron has made Minas Tirith his watchtower and he's also doing his thing and it's just a lot of darkness. But now I'm on chapter 19, which is of Beren and Luthien. And I love the way it starts because having read this separately from the rest of the Silmarillion, you know, I wasn't feeling all of that sadness and build up to this, but now I am. And I love the way the story starts now. It has a whole different meaning for me. It starts, among the tales of sorrow and of ruin that come down to us from the darkness of those days, there are yet some in which amid weeping there is joy, and under the shadow of death light that endures. And of these histories most fair still in the ears of the elves is the tale of Beren and Luthien. And I'm like, yes, give us something. So I'm excited to reread or listen to that for the first time by Andy Serkis while I work on the other part. The dragon voice is honestly scary. I feel like I'm making good progress, though I will say. I believe this is supposed to be the one ring in the fire when they burn the envelope and the ring is revealed unharmed, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. Where even is that? Oh, it's this mechanism here, you see? I think you turn it and then the envelope disappears and then you see the ring in the fire, right? But I could not get it to fit. Maybe it's just a me problem. I have no clue. Has anyone else built this and had this issue? It is much later and I have finished building the set and also reading the Silmarillion. I've really enjoyed this experience. I think doing the two together definitely enhanced it for me. It's something I'm going to remember for years and years. Reading the Silmarillion, it is definitely a lot. It's dense. It's a lot of stories, just like it is if you dive into any mythology, really. I've learned a lot. I feel like the creation stories of every race, wars, the conflict between elves and the Silmarils, so much comes before the start of The Lord of the Rings. Throughout the stories, there are pieces of information that I feel like we're given, little nuggets of information, foreshadowing, saying, you know, this hasn't happened in so many years or this has been lost, and then it clicked in my brain that that comes back up during the events of The Lord of the Rings, so I really enjoyed that as well. There's always the struggle between good and evil. Thankfully, good wins, but the struggle is there. The wills of men, unfortunately, they're so easily influenced. And you can see how, especially in some of the stories, how the men, like the choices of men, really determines the outcome of the battle and who wins and who prevails. Very, very interesting, and the reasoning behind why men were given this choice and that they, you know, they don't live as long. I just really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the final reveal of the Lego set. I've already put it on my bookshelf, so I'm very excited to show you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Here's the reveal.